Yeah, not that I'm scared, obviously, of trick-or-treaters, but you know what I mean. Right, so... I don't know if this happens to anyone, but bloody water dripped out my face last, when I stacked the door.
And I was just going to turn up, they're just over worktops. And I just thought I'd just double check. It was a good job I did.
Like and bloody subscribe. Okay, good morning. It's Tuesday morning. I didn't work yesterday because it was half term last week, and I'm back on this job doing the wardrobes. And basically, I was in my head last week I was going to finish this Thursday. Christ knows how that was going to happen, but basically that would have meant I could have taken the kids somewhere. I just felt guilty over the weekend, so I decided to take them somewhere yesterday. Anyway, because they were still off, obviously. Yeah, basically we're back on this. I just thought I'd just show you. I'm not going to pick you up again today because I really do need to get this finished today. And time's running around me, and it's trick or treat tonight, so I really don't want to be late. Yeah, not that I'm scared, obviously, of trick or treaters, but you know what I mean. Right, so yeah, so I'm just gonna, go watch last week's video. You'll see me doing these if you're new to the channel, and if you are, welcome. If you're not new and you watched last week's, thanks very much. All I'm gonna do is I'll flick you around now. I'm just gonna show you. So I didn't really go through how I do these. Yeah, so this is basically it. You'll have to excuse the mess. Thinking about it, I can't really show you me putting it back together because I can't do it single-handedly. But what I'll do is I'll do a dry run by just clicking this back in. I know it's a mess behind there. Just to make sure that my dominoes line through with this plinth piece. And then when I know all that works and this switch still operates the lights, that's the one that does the door contact. Well, I know all that still works because these connections, they can be a bit temperamental. I'll take it back off. I'll then put some tape on these, and I basically use the either tie wires or whatever, or I've actually got these little things that come with it. I'll just get these cables wrapped back up. I've done a couple already just because they're never going to be in the way, like that one and that one. Yeah, and I'll wrap the switch wire back up, and there's another cable somewhere which is making it look, oh, that's just a switch wire actually. So I'll wrap them back up, then I've got a sticky pad for that. We sticky pad that back to the plinth block, you can see there underneath. And then just put a couple of little 16mm screws in. So I'll get all that done, and then I'll pick you up when it's back on. But basically I'll just do a dry run, because when this goes back on, it gets siliconed just on the back, just so it holds in place. Just because over time, opening and shutting the door, you might find it will kick back a little bit, which is why I glue that block there as well. Yeah, but other than that, then we're on. They've changed a couple of the rails, so I had to order those, which is another reason I didn't come in yesterday, because I just couldn't get them in time. Some of the pull down ones. So yeah, we're gonna do that. We'll get probably some finished shots today. So I don't really know if I showed any of this last week. Basically, obviously the drawers are on. This little pull-out oak tray thing's there. I'm gonna struggle to open these because I haven't got the handles on. But yeah, those drawers are on. Maybe I can open the bottom one. Yeah. Oh, packers in there still. So we've got these drawers are on. Open them all actually. Let's get them all open. Yeah, so they're the oak veneer drawers. Yeah, look nice. Soft close. I've just got to get these cabinet, these cupboard door fronts on as well. Yeah, and obviously, you know, if you didn't watch last week, the other thing I did on these, and I think it does look nice. I'll just turn one on for now because I'm sick of going all the way around there. Obviously, I'll get some finished shots to that. Got these little lights as well. I think they look nice, and they light up these little spaces. But why isn't that light on? Why isn't that light on? A bit worrying, isn't it? It's gone off. Yeah, so that basically, that's all back and working now. That sort of reiterates what I was saying at the end of last week's video. Go to that video, go to the very end of it. I'll timestamp it actually, and I've sort of like mentioned the system of lighting that I'll be using, because these Hafley little connector blocks, as good as they are, and I do love Hafley, they're not quite as strong with this light tape as what the other ones are. The ones I've been getting from Amazon, they're just not as bulky. They're too slimline, and they break very easy when you click them back down as well. They sort of struggle to puncture the tape as well. Yeah, it's frustrating. Once they're on, they're normally all right, but that one, Yeah, I don't know whether I just, when I've pulled these cables through, but again, it's not silicone, so when they're both on, once they're on, they're fine, because nothing's going to move underneath and the boxes are screwed. But anyway, speak to you in a bit. Right, I'm all done. A couple of little niggles. One being I've got a little bit of a light spill in that corner there when these lights are on. It's only tiny, but it's one of them really. You know, I really don't want to start corking that front bit in. I've done it before on kitchen cabinets where you put a clear bead of silicone in from the back, but I literally can't get in there. Anyway, so I've got these, obviously, these cabinets here. And that's the other bugbear. This is actually quite stiff. Whether or not it will free up or not, I don't know, but it's a fair bit of, I suppose the girl might get used to it. It's just that she's only like 8 years old, I think. I'm not sure actually, to be honest with you, but it's just out of our weight a bit, isn't she? I better turn these lights off actually. Yeah, best thing, the nicest thing I like is this. I love that. I've actually got that in my office. I don't know if you remember, I put it on one of my videos, a little thing I made. Maybe I didn't put it on the video actually, but basically, just so I don't have to fight for space with my wife with her laptop. Actual finish as well. I am going to switch back over to hydrofugal, whatever it is. This Medite Pro is crap. And I underprepared it massively because it's been so good in the past. I didn't rub it back as much as I normally would. I used a different primer. It's good enough, but you know when you know. I've just got a couple of little things I've got to sort of like fine tune. So I'm going to do a bit of experimenting with this Renner primer. In this cupboard here, sorry, waffling on. Looks nice, doesn't it? I always struggle to get finished shots. I can never really be bothered. I just want to get out of here. Right, anyway. So that's them. That's the wardrobes. In here, put the mirrors on, cleaned up. Turn that off. Here we go. Much better finish on these actually. But I know there's a couple of bits like this cornice. When I ran this cornice out, I sanded the hell out of that. But the face frames didn't get quite as much sanding, and you can't see it, you can just feel it. Might be a couple of spots where you can. Right, okay, we've got these obviously still a little bit, I have to ignore these little damp patches. I've just put a bit more lacquer on. I just thought if I put a bit of lacquer on that and that, I think it's had 2 coats, but I just put a 3rd coat on the bits you actually touch, just the drawer fronts and whatnot. It's more or less dry now, be careful. There we are. Yeah, I think it looks, I really like that. That's my favourite bit actually. And then unfortunately in this one here, I had to put something in, which I don't like, but it is what it is. And actually talking about having a pull down rail for here, but I'm not even sure if you'll get it, if it will clear this. I'll measure that, I bet it won't. Yeah, but it's an afterthought really, the old pull down rail, but we've put this little bit in so they can have a bit of long hanging. And I'm not really a fan, but it serves a purpose. I think we've got the bedside tables obviously. I've just cleared the tops because I just put another little bit of lacquer on the top of them. I would normally all these, and I kind of wish I had done because it would match the doors, but in this instance I just thought it's just dries quicker, don't it, the clear lacquer. Right, they look nice though. They're doing the job. A light one, so if you can get a bit more of a, they're doing their job, aren't they, at the end of the day. If I sound a bit deflated, it's because I am. It's just taken me a lot longer than I thought, and I've struggled, and I don't like struggling. But it is what it is. On to the next job then. I've got a few to do here actually, so we'll go through that another time, but I don't mind admitting it. I don't mind admitting I'm a bit deflated about these. Not the actual finish, I think they look lovely, but just the just how long it took. And there's a few things I like. I'm definitely going to keep doing. I I think I'm going to start focusing on this wardrobe stuff actually, put a bit more effort in, chase a bit more of it. But I like this little detail I do with a plinth. That works really well. I like these veneer front drawers. I might start doing them in melamine. I just like the look of real wood rather than melamine, to be honest with you. Although it's got its place, you know, some of the melamines now are amazing. I'm going to go to hydrofugo, whatever you call it, hydro. And what else? The Renner paint. I think it's brilliant. Just got to get used to it. I just got to sort out the priming, that's the only thing. Yeah, it touches in well as well. The old Renner paint, which I do like. You see this middle panel. You can actually tell. I've only done it about an hour ago, but I had to touch that in with a roller because I had a damage on it. Not a damage, like a blemish, like. But anyway, yeah, I'll tell you about that in a minute, the blemish, if you really want to know. But basically, yeah, it's a tiny bit of texture there from the roller, but it just, yeah, you can't really tell. You know, you can't see that panel's any different to any of the others. You can't help the texture, you know, it's minimal, really. But yeah, don't know if this happens to anyone, but bloody water dripped out my face mask, didn't it, when I stacked the door. I do so well at trying to avoid it, and it was just I'm right in the middle of that bloody door. It happened to the back of one of the other doors as well. That's not so much of a problem. It's all right when you see it, if you can get it, but it's when you see it like 2 minutes later and you're like, oh. Right, yeah, does look nice though. Don't want to leave, do you, Matt? Right, let's go, next job. Right, good morning. It's Wednesday morning. Obviously yesterday I finished those wardrobes. Today I'm just responding to something that was like like I've said before, I try and leave little gaps in my diary. Basically this is a sort of repeat customer. I've got a friend of mine, a floor layer, who did their floor. They had like an extension in the garden room and stuff built by a company probably 2 years ago now, maybe 3 years ago, and they sort of left them in the lurch. They didn't do a very good job. I don't know if they actually sacked them or they just done a runner, I don't know. But basically, I came in and helped finish it, and the guy there, he does a fair amount himself. He's sort of taking care of some of the stuff as well. Anyway, they've finally got around to sorting out utility room. They just want the worktops doing. So I popped in yesterday because I don't really like turning up blind. I said yes blindly. And I was just going to turn up, they're just oak worktops. But I just thought I'll just double check. And it's a good job I did because they actually want the mitre in and he wants a waterfall edge on the end as well. I'll be honest, it's not something I do a lot of. I've done a couple before. I've done them obviously in the workshop for my own stuff, but doing it on site and in the workshop's a bit different. Also, I'm very aware if the worktops aren't flat and buggered, so I had a little look, but I didn't really have all my kit with me, and I just sort of thought, well, I'll turn up with the attitude that I'm going to get it done. I've only got today as well, so we're just going to hit this, film it. I might do a talk over of me doing it. I don't really know, because obviously I've got to try and film it and actually get the work done. Yeah, cool. Right, so what I'm not going to do is pick you up and when I get in there, because obviously they're getting ready in that. It's 7:30. So I'll just... yeah, just pick you up as and when, really, and see how it goes. Right, this is the job then. So we're going to have a upstand of worktop with like a waterfall edge going along there, mitre in the corner, around here. I'm going to do something around this boiler. I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. I'll probably just get so far with that today, and I just need to talk to the customer about that, really. But yeah, anyway, the main bit really is measuring, marking, doing these mitres. So you want to measure twice, cut once, as they say. Check your corners for square. I'm just using the worktop jig there, just as like a rough gauge, because we're only sort of almost oversizing our worktops, really. We just want to get them in the room so we can do our scribes and transfer our mitre measurements to them. You want to do yourself a cut list, and you want to really do that cut list as a drawing and then keep referring back to that drawing. So you may well want to label your worktops as the drawing, because it can get quite confusing. Really important now as well. I think I was doing this for about 15 minutes, believe it or not. Check all your worktops. I've never ever fitted a solid wood worktop without a bow or a whip or a camber in places. It's just how it is. And you've just got to You can reject them, you know, if they're really, really bad. I have rejected one before, but the bottom line is this. I mean, these luckily are only 20 whatever mil. They're a bit a bit easier to manipulate, but the bottom line is you're there, they're there, customer wants them. You just got to get on with it. So you got to work out where you can, you know, where your miters are going to be. You've also got to look at the worktops and think, you know, what's the A side, what's the B side. In these ones, I couldn't actually see a difference, but even in that, you still got to just double check there's not like a nasty defect that's going. You don't want that to be on the edge of your sort of waterfall effect or right in the middle of the worktop. You just want to do everything you can now to make sure that you're thinking of everything basically, because there's no point in spending all that time and effort cutting it and then just leaving something glaringly obvious in the middle of the board. Right, so all these cuts are going to be within 3 or 4 mil, but I still like to clamp my track. I think it's a good idea to clamp them on anything like this anyway as well, because they're, like I say, they've got bows and sort of canvas and all sorts in them. And then you can label your boards once you've cut them. I label mine as the cut list actually, and I find it really beneficial because you can just refer back to that. And you also, if you have a system where you label the top, you can just quickly double check it before you cut in, just to make sure you got it the right way around. Right, and then when they're in the room, you want to wedge them into position, and then basically document every point that worktop hits. Now, the reason I wedge them is because I don't want that moving while I'm marking it and while I'm sliding the other worktops in, which you'll see in a minute. I'll bring them all in and overlay them. And you want to mark the wall where they strike. I've kept every worktop the same depth, and I will mark my scribes now, but I will try and keep them all the same depth, because I'm trying to bisect these angles where they start and stop in the corners. So you see that I couldn't get my pencil into the corner, so I had to basically use like a datum point of marking the other side of my square. So yeah, I'll mark my scribes, but I'm not going to cut those yet. I'm going to leave my worktops in position. I'm going to do all the sort of preliminary work. So I'm going to multi-tool out the boxing so that I know that, just thinking ahead, when I slide my worktops in, that I've got enough wriggle room around the boxing. I'm actually going to have to multi-tool the boxing and scribe for the boxing on the worktop. Now that's because you need the room to move left and right to get past the dominoes or the biscuits, whatever you're doing. Sometimes you can angle the worktop up, but it doesn't really do you any favours with the dominoes, and you'll see there's a socket in the way. So it's important to do this, to cut out both, because what you need to do is give yourself enough room when you're gluing up. Right, so I've overlaid every worktop, and I'll now document where each one strikes the other at its full depth. That's the most important thing. And you see I've got the square on the wall, so I'll mark that against the pencil mark I marked from the worktop that's underneath, and then I can bisect those angles, because they're not 45 degrees because the walls are out of square. And you've really got to take your time here getting those absolutely bob on, because if you imagine, like, one of those worktops is 2.5 meters long. Now that cut across there is about 900. So 1 millimeter out on that cut is going to be sort of 3 or 4 millimeters out on the length. So you've got to be really accurate with these. Really take your time. And some people do multiple cuts. I can't be doing with it. I just really nice new blade or sharp blade, one clean cut once. Because I just feel like if you're doing multiple cuts, then you're going to get, like, I've noticed even with a decent blade, you get slight tram lines in your cuts, and I'm using these cuts really as my finished cuts rather than using like a router to do the joint. I'm using the track saw. Right, so now you need to do a dry run. Now the dry run's really important, because this is the chance to do your final scribing, make a mark where your waterfall edge is going. With the waterfall edge, you really don't want to be doing the mitre into a board without cutting the excess off. And the good thing about the Festool track saw is, and I don't think the Makita does it, I think the Makita's got a weird offset. The actual square cut is the same as the 45, so you don't have to adjust your rail. So I literally measure over the thickness of the waterfall edge, cut it once, leave the rail in position, reset my track saw. This bit's key as well. Always set your track saw to 45.5, and always tighten the back bolt first, never the front bolt, because that's the one that sets it. Don't fully tighten it, just tighten it enough to hold it at 45.5 and then start tightening them both. And the Festool doesn't come with the anti-tip, so it's basically because it's a real saw and it doesn't rely on you having a little plastic mechanism which has got about 2 mil of slop in it, so you just have to sort of get over that and just hold it down. Right, and now you want to double check and just make sure you're a hair over, basically. You're just looking for a tiny bit of daylight at the back edge of the cut. And that's simply so that when you close this cut up, when you fold this mite around, you've got somewhere for the glue to go, and it doesn't hold off the back, and it will open the front, you see, if it binds on the back. And obviously that's the last thing you want with a waterfall edge, is a gap on the front. Right, this bit's key for me. I don't do a hell of a lot of these sort of joints, especially on worktops, but what I have figured out is you want to line your worktops up. So you want to line your waterfall edges so they touch like face to face, and then line up the front edge of your worktop, or if they're both equal, you know, both edges, so that everything's straight to each other, because then you know you've got a complete and a square level wraparound. Plus it does make marking all your dominoes a lot easier, because obviously we're going to domino these as well. The only thing I wish that the domino did, and someone might be able to help me on this, how can you do it so you reference the outside edge and not the inside edge? Because it really bugs me that you have to. There must be like a weird offset tool you can buy, maybe. I might look that up actually, because you just really, the outside edge is the important edge. You know, it doesn't matter too much in this instance because I've made equal cuts, and I'm really making sure I'm holding the domino right. But yeah, it would just be nice if you're referencing the outside edge. So this is something else. This is for the mitered corners. I'm just making sure I've got the perfect domino versus slot size, so that I can slide the worktops in without having to come at an angle, because obviously I've only got the width of the room. I can't come from the outside. So just a little bit of preliminary work there again, because the glue ups, you know, you've got to think of everything before you glue up. Doing the worktop bolts, that was a bit more time consuming because I couldn't use the regular pattern. I possibly could have put an extra one in, but I was awkward with how the cupboards were. Okay, then you're doing your dry fit, which is a good chance there to mark your dominoes. And also it's a really, really good opportunity to do any final adjustments or scribes before you mark where your waterfall edges are and where your cuts are, or if you had a sink, where your sinks are. Right, so we're getting ready for the waterfall edge now. And this is where you really, if you're in the workshop, it'd be a little bit different. So basically, I'm making a jig. Now this jig is, the design of this jig is basically so that I can clamp at 45, clamp over 45 degrees, basically clamp across the joint, bring it closer together. And I'm making it a little, not quite as wide as the worktop, and I'm putting it on a backer board so that it's, and I'm gluing it to a backer board, so I've got something to clamp to, which you'll see in a minute, and also so that it's like laminated. So it really, I probably wish I'd done this in hardwood really, but it worked out all right in the end. But yeah, if that was in hardwood, it'd be a bit stronger. But yeah, a little bit of softwood on there, glued to there, screwed through from the back. That's like a sort of laminated piece that then I can clamp to the worktop, and it will kind of, if I pull one bit in, theoretically it'll pull the rest of it in. Although I do obviously I'll put plenty of clamps on it. Right, so the next thing to think about with this jig is grip, basically. So I've got like a little bag I keep in the van, which has just got like odds and sods in, and there's like glues and weird staple guns, and I've got this little hot glue gun in stick thing in there. So yeah, I'm just gluing some strips of sandpaper to the back of the jig to help it grip on the worktop. actually using this hot glue gun, looking back on it, would have been good to have set the worktops on for my scribes, stop them moving around while I was scribing. So you see I've kept it back a bit so I can use my little corner clamps. Then we fully clamp that on there, set it back from the edge about 3 or 4 mil, so you can still see your waterfall edge when you're doing your glue up. And you know when you pull it, it's going to want to pull forward just a tiny bit. So I've got it on both sides, dominoes in. I did toy with the idea of hot gluing that jig to the worktop and clamping it. But yeah, I sort of always get a bit worried about the cleanup afterwards. Well, I know it would come off all right, I know it would, but if it tore the oak, you'd be buggered, wouldn't you? Here, you're lining up, getting it in, and you want to use the weight of the worktop. You see I've rested all my clamps on the end of the worktop just to make it a little bit heavier. Then we jack it up off the floor, put some shims in on the floor, and I'm basically relying on the weight of the worktop pushing it down, just while I'm setting it. And then we can start clamping these and really looking at the, because I've kept it back, I can see the join, because you could theoretically over clamp it and you could either break your jig or you could overgo the mitre, which would be probably worse than undergoing, actually. A bit of overshoot in this situation. I'd probably rather it be undershot because you're going to sand it back and you could always do something with that. But yeah, you'll see, got a really, really nice tidy join there. You can just see along the edge, you can see I've got a little bit showing on the edge. That jig did sneak forward a little bit, but you still got a little bit showing. And then this next clip just shows you what glue ups are like. Doesn't matter how prepared you are, you've always got to improvise. I found out it was sort of slightly kicking in just as I was, after about 5 minutes of the glue up, I was like, oh, I need to, so I had to spring it off the cabinet. Right, so we're back on the worktop miters now. So I'm just going to do the other end of the room while I'm letting the waterfall joint go off in the clamps for about an hour. You just got to tap these around. Very similar, basically. This is now just becomes like a laminate install. Tap them in, do the bolts up. Got to go up and down, make sure everything's all right. Tap them around so you can make sure they feel flush. The bottom line is it's going to need a little bit of sanding, and yeah, you're just doing the best you can, really. They actually came out really well, to be fair. And then this, I was really, really happy with this. That jig really held up. It actually only moved about 1 millimetre. I think if I'd done it at hardwood, it wouldn't have moved. But yeah, it gave a brilliant result. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get a chance, because everything's been glued up today, to fully sand everything, although it has already had a few coats of oil. But what I do like to do is just knock the edges off these corners, because they can be ever so sharp and they've got a little kid. And it just looks a lot nicer as well. Just put an Aris on it. Looks absolutely lovely, that. Really, really impressed with that. Right, 4:45. It is dark already. There's a storm coming, but I've sort of been hanging around, not like, but I really wanted to get the sander out and sand these joins, but they've only really been done for about an hour and a half, the glue on those, if that, to be honest with you. And I'm just a bit worried about the mechanicalness of the Rotex, or I think I've got the ETS on the van as well, but even so, it's still a random orbit sander, isn't it? It's going to possibly disturb the joint, so we'll leave that. I'm going to leave those, might as well leave those clamps on them springs down from the worktops above as well. I have screwed it. We've got a removable panel here, which I've dominoed. I was going to put it on a loose tongue. It's here. I'm grateful not to fit it, if I'm honest. The guy's going to do the end panels himself, and that's over. Not really, I don't really want to be involved with that, because that's probably against all sorts of regs. Well, it definitely is, isn't it? But and whether or not it will hold out or not, I don't know, if it being solid wood, but the idea is it'll be fixed to the underneath of the end panel here, nice and solid, which will then get undone, and then it pulls out that way. Like I say, grateful not to do that, really. The guy does quite a bit himself. It's a shame I can't take you in. They've actually all gone out. I didn't ask, but the house is lovely. They've done such a nice job of decorating it, and I'd like to show you all the work that we've done here, but it's just really quirky. They've got some really interesting tastes. And I mean that positively. I think the house is lovely, and it's a shame because you don't really get that effect from seeing this. You know, it doesn't really you couldn't really imagine what this is going to look like, but it will look nice. You can already tell really by the fact they've asked me to do the waterfall on this, which actually, you know, now I look at it, that does look good, doesn't it? That does look nice. Yeah, happy with that. Yeah, very happy. What was that? Oh, it's a shame, bit of a defect there in the, yeah. Anyway, yeah, it does look good. Does look very nice. Anyway, yeah, so we're done. What I am going to do is, yeah, I'm going to ask people, would you glue oak worktops? Because I know some people, I've always known people to do it, but I've spoke to other chippies and they've gone, oh no, you should never glue oak worktops. You should always be loose joints. I kind of understand if you're butting end grain up to like sort of, you know, sort of through grain, or to if you're doing like an end joint to like a mason's mitre basically. I understand that because it's going to, if you do a mason's mitre and worktop bolt it, it's not like a laminate where it will just stay consistent to each other. The end grains are going to expand differently to the other board. But these are all end grain on end grain, and they are perfect bisects of angles. Obviously, you've seen how I've done that, so they're actually, you know, they actually line through really, really well. Looks really good. Considering, yeah, that one runs out actually. That one doesn't. You know, can't be odds it. Yeah, you know, obviously some of these staves must be slightly different, or maybe I did double check to make sure they started the same and they end the same, and they do. But anyway. Waffle. Think that looks nice. Let me know what you think. Would you glue it? Also, how would you do that? You know, is that how you do it? That's how I decided to do it anyway. You know, in the time I had. Not a bad day's work, to be fair. Right then. See you later. Right, I really hope you enjoyed that video. Something a little bit different really. Not exactly reinventing the wheel, but a little bit different to the channel. I'm sure you've noticed if you're a regular watcher that normally my videos are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's my sort of system, or sort of system / therapy. But basically, this week's been a little bit different because I had the Monday off, took the kids somewhere, and I'm actually having a few days off. It's Thursday, so I'm actually having a few days off. But for some strange reason, yesterday when I ended the video, I didn't want to announce it, even though the video's going out on Friday, so by which point I'll be back. It's just, basically I've got it in my head that I don't like to, because I'm doing these things literally every day I'm recording, I don't really like people to know where I am, like just, you know, obviously I've done a video a few weeks ago about tool theft and stuff. It's just a little bit of paranoia I like to keep in my life just to keep me on my toes. Anyway, this is me saying goodbye. Thank you very much for anyone that's watched. I really appreciate it, as ever. I'm not even really sure what I'm doing next week. I've got plenty of jobs on, but it's just which one I tackle first, because the wardrobes that you saw me finish on Tuesday, that customer's waited quite a long time for those because we had like a bit of a hold up on decision making and stuff, and basically a ball got dropped somewhere. That's all I'm saying. And basically, yeah, I've got 2 rooms to do, I think, if he agrees them. So I've sort of dropped everything, put those prices forward. If he gets back to me in time, I'll drop everything and I'll pick all that up and I'll just get that out the workshop next week. If not, I'll have to jump on another job. So I don't really know. But if you tune in, you'll find out, won't you? Right, have a good weekend. See you later. Like and bloody subscribe.